We're on.
Unlike Kong.
This is the post-match debrief. We are at Melbourne Apartment Collection on Rowena Parade. It's a very tight shot with myself, Adrian Horton, Alex Zorks, Caden McDonald to my left. Boys, I'll come to you first, Zorks. That fucking sucks. 1 point to the filth.
Yeah, it was. It does suck, but it does not hurt as much as it used to. There's something about that loss today that just says this year isn't ours, but they did what we would have done ourselves. They, do you know what I mean? They gave 110%.
Yeah, they did. They gave everything. I thought, to a man, we were brilliant. The only thing that let us down, which is just textbook Melbourne, is kicking in front of the big sticks, 10-11 to 11-6. It's a 1 point game. I'm going to speak about the men in fluoro. I have to. I choose not to. I ignore it. There were people on the halftime post today saying, why is the admin, being me, hello, I'm admin, not talking about the umpiring? I have to speak about it. It was inexplicably shit. It was disgusting. We're going to have to bring it up at some point. We're not going to go into great detail, but it needs to be mentioned. It would be remiss of us if we didn't. But Kados, we have walked out of the MCG with a familiar feeling, and that's what is so disappointing.
Yeah, really disappointing. And, I don't know. You don't want to... It feels a bit too easy to blame the umpires, but throughout the game, I was really disappointed with how it was officiated. And what's frustrating, and maybe it's a broader conversation with the league in general, but there was a lot that I think the umpires could go to the rule book and say, well, technically, for example, one was over the shoulder. But when you're not coat hangering a bloke and it has no impact on the play, and we've got such a good, hard contest, and you're pulling something out for the sake of pulling it out, that's when it becomes frustrating. And there was times where they'd do that for one side, which is Collingwood, and then it would be for us, and it wasn't paid. The one that was really frustrating was inside 50, Tom Sparrow gets spun around in a sling tackle.
Yes.
He handballs it because you have to try and get rid of it. So you have to show that you're getting rid of it, and that's good enough. It goes out of bounds, it dribbles out of bounds, and they said it was deliberate inside your own forward 50. So I thought, well, if we're paying that, which is very strict, and, technically it was insufficient intent, but I thought the pressure was enough to justify the handball. We're paying that everywhere. We go down the other end. Nick Dacos, similar situation. He handballs it out on the full, under pressure with the tackle, and they say, no, that's not insufficient. He's under pressure. So there's just times like that where throughout the whole day, the Pies had the rub of the green, and, if we lost by 30 points and we're blaming the umps, it's like, oh, come on, guys. The inside 50s weren't good enough, and there was some decisions that cost us off our own boot. But when it's 1 point and you can boil down 3, 4, maybe 5 goals from the umpires for them, I know it's an easy and maybe lazy thing to go to, but it does feel like we were stiffed a little bit.
It is the first time in my life, Zorks, that I have sat here, and I'll probably do it again tomorrow, even when I've had a sleep. And typically when I've had a sleep and I do a review show, I'm more objective. I don't think it'll subside. I genuinely believe that game was on a knife's edge, and the men in fluoro had a big say in what happened. The only thing, and you can talk about the men in fluoro, but the only thing that I'll say is Collingwood were composed forward of centre.
Yep.
Melbourne again showed their true colours. They butchered opportunities. We had a chance, I think, in the last quarter to potentially kill it, get it out to a 2-goal lead, and I don't think Collingwood would have reeled it in. So it's hard for me to sit here and just go ham on the men in fluoro, but it was just there for all to see. And when you scroll through a Twitter timeline, it's always a pretty good determiner, I think, of how a game has been officiated. And from what I saw, 95% of people, even Collingwood supporters themselves, saying, fuck, we got away with one today.
Yeah, look, I generally dislike umpire chat. I find it's
Same.
something that's out of our control in general, and I go, there's nothing I can do to control that. Why would I put my energy into that? There were a few times today that you find yourself thinking, and you could tell very early, today's game was always going to be determined by the finest of margins. And there were some times that it wasn't really the free kick count and all that, the officiating that I was particularly, I raised my eyebrows at. It's a couple of the further decisions, the 50 decisions. The Xavier Lindsay, was it the second quarter or was it the first quarter?
Yeah, it was just before half
Something
time.
like that. When I understand it is a 50-metre penalty. However, the way that 50-metre penalty was brought up, Xavier didn't add advantage to the ball, right? When he was moving off the mark, he was moving back and
Shuffling
left.
backwards.
He
Was clearly going for the outside 5.
Yeah.
And then they pull it out of their ass. And it's like, once again, technically he's moving when they may have called stand. But anyone else is going, well, he's shuffling backwards. That is not an advantage to us. He's not closing the space. He's not cutting across the kicker. He's shuffling backwards to go outside 5. Just a random one to pull out.
It sucks so much, man. Like, I love the club, and it was a great game, and it's by far, we've had way worse losses. Far, like floggings, close. Today was one of those games where you walk away going, I don't hate it, but I feel kind of uncomfortable with it.
I was convincing myself halfway through the last quarter that we'd won. I did that, and I don't know why I fucking did that, because that makes it feel so much worse. But
when do we ever win those ones though? Like especially against
Collingwood?
Especially against Collingwood, we'll be
never.
We'll be fifth on the ladder, and they'll be 13th, and they'll beat us in 2017 or whatever it was.
I won't get over that.
We'll be first on the ladder, and they'll be. I think when we were first in 2021, I'm not sure they made finals and they beat us. It's like no matter where we are situated, they always have the wood over us, and they always win close ones. And they had the crowd, and they had the umps. There were. I think I said multiple times, we've lost this. We've absolutely lost this.
Yes.
I went the other way. I started legitimately convincing myself. I was like, oh my God, it's a famous victory.
I thought we were going to pile it on late.
It's a famous victory.
Yeah.
When the Cozzy goal goes through, you think to yourself, far out, we could actually get another one and run away with this. So credit to Collingwood, because the way they stood up in the final 6-7 minutes defensively, they repelled us. We made some poor decisions. Oliver, the kick out in the full, is one that'll stick in the memory for 48 hours, which is so weird. Like, why do we obsess over this shit so much? The other thing that sucks is this beer cost $10 as well. That we need to mention that. And what pub did I go to? What's that called?
Can't tell you. I don't know what the pub's name is. I've never been there before.
Let's call it I wouldn't call it unethical. It's not unethical.
It's near. It's where the Richmond Football Club train. That's all I do know. And we were.
I walked in and got a surprise.
Well, we were loitering out the front, and there's a couple of other pubs around here, and it was one where I was like, I cannot be standing on the corner of this pub, because if people walk past and think I'm in the line,
Can I just
I'm in the line on a Monday
the pub
night.
in question is called the Royal. Anyone that's been there, they understand what we're talking about.
Put it this way,
we're just there for some beers.
Put it this way, it's full of 60, 70-year-old men. And
you went in for takeaways, and I was like, we cannot be seen standing out the front here.
So I'm drinking a $10 Melbourne bitter, and you're drinking an $18 White Claw.
I owe you a lot of money then, because there ain't no
cares?
laws on the clause. I don't care about my caloric intake that much that I'm spending 18 rods on a fucking can.
All I'm saying is that just puts an exclamation mark on the loss.
I've got a hypothetical.
Sure.
And I just want to gauge
Hit us.
how you feel about it.
Here we go.
Gut feel, should Fritter have handballed / gone back and taken his kick?
Didn't matter. Because he kicked a goal after
Or
it.
do you think the blind blaze from the goal square that
Because he
missed-
kicked a goal after it.
I think
But if Fritter kicks that one...
I think Fritter did enough today that we need to move our questions elsewhere. I think he
That
did
was
really
crazy, though.
well.
That was crazy.
It didn't have an effect on the contest, because if he didn't do that, Cozzy would have kicked that miraculous goal where he just picks it up, one hand, in motion.
But why can't we have
dribbles it.
both? Why can't we have...
Because you can't have both. Because then
Bears fans.
Well, you can't have both, because it would have changed the
Because it would have been a centre
trajectory of the
bounce
game.
and then not a kick.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if he doesn't do that, which was stupid, it meant that Cozzy would have kicked his goal. Wouldn't have kicked his goal anyway. I think some of the moments for me. So let's go back to the first half. So you kick the 4-6 to 6-2 at halftime. It's a similar script, and we'll keep saying the same thing. It will be repetitive. Melbourne go in knowing that they've got the game on their terms for the most part. Realistically, you should be 2-3 goals up. We've had enough dominance. We've done enough good things from clearance. We've had enough territory, and we've kicked the 4-6. And one moment that sticks in my mind is when the ball gets out to Steele side bottom. He's on 50. He takes his time. He's composed, and he just sinks it, right? So and he just sinks it. And then there's a moment 2-3 minutes later, probably less actually, where Petrarca, he picks up the ball.
Yeah.
He's streaming into forward 50. And he blazes away and he misses. And that is the difference. It's the difference in composure. It's the difference in class. Exactly. You hit the nail on the head. And that's the thing that hurts the most. So we've said it many times before. Melbourne, you know what you're going to get when they're on. They're going to be fire and brimstone. They're going to be cracking in. They're going to be good at the contest. But it's the finishing that just continuously lets us down. And today was another example. People might argue that Collingwood were off. I would call bullshit, because I thought the way that Melbourne defended behind the ball was terrific. I thought May was excellent. I thought Lever, who's been questionable, and a lot of people have questioned him, I thought he was tremendous as well. Daniel Turner.
Superstar.
Fucking hell.
Superstar.
We're watching a player blossom.
Can we take a second on
Blossom.
Disco?
Yes.
Just can we take 2 minutes on appreciating a swingman dominating in defense and offense? Whenever Disco gets near the ball, like you see the ball coming down, you see him at the contest, there's that little bit inside you that goes, this is his.
Yeah.
Or at the very
Brilliant.
least, he's halved the contest. He is going to be a superstar, and he's severely underrated by the competition. Some of the commentators, some of the head honchos out there, they mention him, and you go, that's a good sign. Whether we win, lose, it does matter, but someone like severely, but you cannot help but to feel optimistic about someone like Disco attacking the ball and in the squad.
His pack marking, like he
Awesome.
takes big pack marks all the time, and at both ends as well. Like I was, I don't know. I've just been impressed with, like, when he went forward at the end of last year, I was like, oh, this looks like our best forward mix. I think it might have been him, Petty, and JVR against Gold Coast when we beat them by 10 goals.
World beaters.
But they all got on the scoreboard. I think they all kicked 3 on that day. And I remember going, oh, this might be the mix going forward. And since he's gone into fence, I'm now not sure, like, round 1, 2026, I'm not sure where Disco's starting. I know he's in the 22, but I'm just so impressed what he's doing behind the footy. It's now swaying me to think that maybe he is the replacement for Lever and May down the line.
He was excellent. I was so impressed with his game. And to come up against a seasoned pro like Myercheck for most of the time and take him to the cleaners was
He beat
huge.
him. He beat Myercheck.
Oh,
He beat Myercheck today
no doubt.
soundly.
Yeah, there's absolutely no doubt. So I thought he was good. I thought Bowie was good. I thought Chandler was good.
There was a couple of critical contests where Bowie, like, he's small, but he's so hard.
Yeah.
And he positions his body from like a craft standpoint where he's not going to lose the contest. He just halves a bunch of contests. He makes it disgusting. He makes it dirty. And then there's that little bit of class.
Like the bar I was at.
What is, like, on top of
He's
that,
the royal of back pockets.
on top of that class, it's one of those. He had a few moments today where he ended up with the ball and he split the contest. He went straight down the guts in the middle. He had the time, and I'm watching, going, I know you're very good. I know you're an amazing boot, but I did not know that you had that in your arsenal. That splits the defense right down the middle. He did that a few times today, where you can't ignore it.
Yeah.
Can we just call out Stephen May as well?
Let's have a chat about Stephen.
Well, I thought he was good. I thought he was really good today.
Really good. Like exceptional for me. I thought a player that I've been a little bit critical of recently, but continues to wind back the clock and give performances like that. I thought he was excellent. There are a lot of standout individuals, and that's the thing that hurts the most right now, because it is so raw, and we are recording this only a mere hour after the result. So it kills you to know that across the board there are a lot of really good contributors. The other thing as well is you just look at the win-loss record now and you go, oh shit, what is it?
Is it 4 and 8?
5 and 8. 5 and 8. You just go 5 and 8. We're 5 and 8. And it's a weird 5 and 8 because of the 0-5. It's a strange 5 and 8 because you put up really good performances like we have against Fremantle, like we have against Brisbane, Sydney, Hawthorn as well. If not for the 7-14, I think we're having a different conversation.
In our eyeballs up to the fourth quarter.
But then what we do is we go up to Alice Springs. We absolutely gas the game against St Kilda. And what could have been a slightly different proposition today in terms of the outcome is now a really deflating one, because it never plays out like this. But hypothetically, if we're sitting here after a 1 point loss to table-topping Collingwood, but we'd done the job against St Kilda like we should have, we'd sit there and go, that's all right, boys, just roll the sleeves up and go again next week against Port. And we're still a sniff this year.
We have the bye?
No, we got Port.
Week after.
And then we got a bye.
God.
Yeah, we got a 6-day break as well, which kills. Off the back of that, like, they put in so much effort into that game. They were going so hard. And again, credit to Collingwood. They were resilient, defensively stubborn behind the ball. They're so good at seeing out results. They got the rub of the green for most of the game, but I thought the rub of the green really stopped when it got to that last 6 or 7 minutes. Yeah. Yes, there's a decision on Dacos and Langdon. He gets the push in the back that's not there. But you could argue that it doesn't actually have an effect on the result. So you sit there and you go, well, do you know what? First half, they had everything going for them. The men in the fluoro gave them a free ride. However, it's what they did in that last 6 or 7 minutes that makes them so good. And sometimes that's the difference between the best teams and the teams that are just stuck in the middle. And at the end of the day, we're stuck in the middle. And that's okay, because we know that we're building. We know we've got players for the future. But Collingwood and the way they execute games in terms of closing out it's second to none. Like, they got back in front, and I don't know how much time was on the clock, but it felt like an eternity. And they were like, we could see this out.
Yeah,
Not many teams can do that.
I think it was about 8 minutes left.
Not many teams can do that, Kados. So sometimes you got to put your hand up and go, you know what? That's pretty impressive.
I think the senior generation, the side bottoms, the Pendleburys, they still understand what it's like to be a winner back in 2010, all that kind of stuff. And they show that.
Well, they've had 15 years of it.
Right, week in, week out. We don't, like, the amount of times this afternoon that Steele Sidebottom in particular, not so much Scott Pendlebury, he was an outlet, he used the ball correctly, he was just that right pressure relief valve. And you go, I know you're in your 30th season, but there is, like, he was, Pendles, Sidebottom, they were born winners, right? They were born winners. All they know how to do as Collingwood is to win. And those few small decisions that they make later on in the game, Sidebottom was just imperious, right? They know how to win. And I feel like one of the biggest problems with our Ds is that, you know, if you're born and your parents are restaurateurs, you know how to boil an egg.
Where's
just
he
inherently,
Yeah.
right? They just know how to win a game of footy.
Yep.
From that older generation, and they just pass it on to the next ones.
Yeah. No, I was like, where's
What
he
I
going?
like about us is, and we've had to work hard to change the culture of the footy club. But what I like is, and I've been looking across the last 18 months to see if it's still there. Like, we finished 14th last year, and we struggled to start this season as well. But since 2020, we're competitive in a lot of games against any side. And that's a little part that I want to pat us on the back for, is like, you know, 14th last year, but we pushed Port Adelaide, who were top 4 last year. We pushed GWS, who were top 4 last year. Like, we were still competitive. Brisbane in the back half of the year.
Yep.
So, like, Collingwood, they've set up generations of sustained success. But what I like is, like, at our little lull here, because we're clearly recalibrating, that competitiveness from us hasn't gone away.
No, I agree with that.
Very good point.
I agree with that. I think there's a lot to like about today. It would be too easy to get hung up on the result. It would be too easy to get distraught about the outcome, and that's
it was
okay.
1 point. It was one.
No, I know,
point.
and there is
That's actually funny. That's actually comical.
It's crazy.
That's a comical margin.
I think the craziest thing is the fact that we've kicked in accurately. We've had all the key indicators again that you would ever want to have, and we've lost a game of footy. But we've lost a game of footy to the benchmark.
Yeah.
Right? So you've got to look at it glass half full, I think, for the most part, that there's some really good things to come out of today's game. Clayton Oliver was brilliant, in my opinion. I thought
Amazing.
There were a few moments where he wasn't clean, but that's what you get with Clary. But
Clary.
his willingness, I thought in the third quarter when the game was getting away from us, they got out to a 14-point lead. I thought it was Clayton Oliver that just in the clinches, hard at it, moving us forward, winning those one-on-ones. He gave us a chance. Melksham got back into it in the third quarter, and then suddenly Bailey Fritsch came to life, and that was another positive for me. Seeing the best of Bailey Fritsch sniffing out a goal.
Couple good tackles.
I thought it was brilliant. So it was really good to see those two players who have been down on form for most of the year actually stepping up to the plate. So I thought that was good. I thought track was pretty good. There would have been a bit of drama in terms of his mentality coming into this.
His mentality was awesome. He came with a bit of an edge.
He came with a massive edge. I thought he was going after them.
Yeah,
there was a lot of mongrel bastard. I thought Max Gawn, I thought he got the better of Darcy Cameron. I thought he was really good. There are so many individual positives to come out today. It's just a shame. The other one as well, we've got to mention it, is Ed Langdon's job on Nick Dacos.
Rate it.
Why are we so good at shutting down stars? Like, I remember years ago, Gary Ablett Jr. would always struggle against this. Jordy McKenzie would do a number on him. And then
naturally,
in the last few years, Nick Dacos will have 35s against everyone, but he gets, I don't know what he had today, but he always gets the 17 or 18s against us, and we seem to quell quality players.
Yep, but this is the big thing. So we said it before when we were on our walk. I don't know if you were there, Zorks. It might have been going to the Royal and seeing some things I haven't seen before in a long time.
Neither.
But that's okay. Anyway, it was fucking weird in there. Tell you what. And if you go to that establishment pre or post game, you're a fucking weirdo. So I'm just gonna put that out because it was the strangest atmosphere. It was just like these old blokes, just like it was disgusting. And it's I've lost my point.
No, I get it.
I haven't lost my point. It was the fact that we're doing a patch job. So the patch job up forward is Jake Melksham's not going to be around forever. This could be his last year, conceivably. And then the other patch job is Harrison Petty, who brought Mongrel Bastard today. I don't know if he's your long-term option. So it just kills me that I'm a broken record, but we need to find one or two or hope that JVR blossoms, but we need to at least find one power forward because the amount of times we just kicked it long and Moore and Frampton and co. just came across, Jeremy Howe as well, who was brilliant. Give Judas his props. He was really good.
Give Judas his props.
No, he was really good. And he typically plays well against Melbourne. But that is still killing us as a football side, forward of centre. And I think today, if you analyse it, look at it in the wash-up, take the men in Fleur out, take some suspect decisions out, it's still that long kick down the line, the power forward, the out kick. I still think we're struggling with it, and I still think we're kidding ourselves with Petty and Melksham because, of course, Melksham's not going to be around forever, and Petty probably has to go behind the ball when Stephen's wrapped up and finished.
Tell me why Melksham and Disco Turner aren't interchangeable but in the opposite direction. I would rather... So Petty is a good footy player in his own respect. When he plays his game, he's great. Disco Turner, those two are very similar. Why are we allocating more time for Harrison Petty up forward than Disco? Disco's proven that he's a solid kick. He's a great mark. I would rather more Harrison Petty defense time and more Disco offense time because Disco's a confidence-based player, right? Like, I would rather him up forward because he plays with that. Look, I went to a public school. He plays like a public school boy. He plays like he's just got that, I'm here to hurt ya. He's
mongrel.
Mongrel. Mike Bravo. Mongrel bastard. I would rather someone with proper mongrel bastard up front than down back.
We're clearly one tall less at the moment, though. Like, I think we're trying to play that small ball style of footy, but we're not playing like that. Like, we're kicking long from the wings. We're kicking long.
Who's our best forward, Katos? Who is our key forward?
Well, my question is, why are we letting Tom McDonald sit on the sidelines when he can play forward? Like, he should be in the 22 no matter what. Yep. And if he's struggling in the forward line and Disco's clunking everything, we know that Tom McDonald's comfortable in defence and can swap them. I just feel like we're one tall less at the moment, which is costing us. But regardless, like, we've had this conversation for 3 years and we've tried to solve it within the footy club. Like, Disco went went forward and Petty's gone forward and Tom McDonald's been interchanged and it's now like now or never. Like we have to go out and get a mature age. They have to be 23, 24. They have to have 50 or 60 games under their belt. We don't need Max King, but we just need someone who's been in the system long enough. We hear Logan Morris, we hear Ollie Lord, Oscar Allen apparently we're sniffing around for. But it has to happen now, like Luke Jackson. But it has to happen. Like it's now whenever. If we go into next year and it's Melksham and Petty, that will be not good enough from the footy club.
Couldn't agree more. Do you reckon that's right?
Yeah, absolutely. I had a question I forgot it halfway. I'll get there in the end.
Do you know what? There's a lot of forgetting questions. There's a lot of forgetting
questions. What
about no more questions.
Stephen May and Max Gawn.
Pay some respect to the greatest.
Pay some respect, but horrible kick.
Who cares? He had to go for it.
I agree.
There's no time on the clock.
I agree, but horrible kick.
Yeah, but like, fuck
That's your captain.
He had to go for it.
That's your captain.
Stephen, nah.
The game was over and he is the GOAT, but
I love how Maxie had to go at him. I would have done the same thing. I would have been like, fuck off, mate. I'm trying to go for the kick.
But would you, if you were out there, would you have, say that wasn't Max Gawn? Say that was...
Caden, the chances of us winning from that position, there were like 30, 40 seconds on the clock.
Who's a whipping boy?
Would have had to be the perfect kick. Collingwood was so well set up behind the ball. Don't have a go at Max.
Who's a whipping boy?
Do we have any whipping boys anymore?
Yeah.
We might not.
Do you want me to go through them?
Say Blake Howes kicked that.
That's what I was going to say. Sorry. That's what I was going to say. Blake Howes playing instead of Tom McDonald. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no.
Blake Howes, if we had Tom McDonald instead of Blake Howes, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to say that.
He did brilliantly. Jamie Elliott did nothing.
Say Bailey Laurie chewed that, like bit that kick off. Would we be like...
it's an overreaction.
We don't mention Bailey Laurie tonight.
He had to roll the dice. He had to roll the dice. I do agree. But shocking shoot.
Let's just end it on love, okay? Let's end it on love.
We love each other.
Now, really quickly, Melbourne Apartment Collection, where we are. There's a beautiful bed there. It's great. It's not in shot.
Open living area just there.
There's a airflow
close to the Royal
TV, which is very modern.
Open flow bathroom just there with a Balinese shower. It's lovely.
It is. The TV looks, sorry, not the TV. The fridge looks very Black Mirror, very futuristic. So that's cool. It is so nice,
it is
so comfy in here.
Clean.
So a big shout out to Melbourne Apartment Collection. So this place is on Rowena Parade, which
Stone's throw.
You can
took the
hear
words
the
out of my mouth.
You can hear the sirens from the G.
Took the words out of my mouth.
Magic.
So this is the prime position for anyone that's travelling from interstate or you're a regional traveller and you want to spend a night in Melbourne. There are a lot of people I saw coming in here pre-game when I dropped off my bag, and too many Collingwood supporters for my liking, but clearly people were taking up the opportunity to stay here at Melbourne Apartment Collection. So without them, we wouldn't be able to do this content. So a big shout out to Melbourne Apartment Collection. And
Thank
please,
you, MAC.
if you are one of those people, one of those DeeBrief listeners or viewers on YouTube, of course, and you want to take up the opportunity, stay here. Be my guest. I stayed here last year after the Queen's birthday loss on my own. That was pretty fucking grim. But honestly, it's perfect. It's ideal. And we thank them very much. We love the club.
Appreciate it. Love club.
We love the club. It hurts today. There's still promising signs. My big takeaway, and I'll give you boys just a little bit of a wrap yourself, but my big takeaway is there's still a lot of good to gain out of this season. I'm still seeing a lot of progress out of players. Bowie and Turner come to mind. All is not lost. If we can keep Cozzy, which I think we will, we get Luke Jackson in, which we might, it can change very quickly. I'm going to end it on a positive note. What's your last little note?
Last little note, we played a lot of infants today and we pushed the best side in the competition. We play a tough, hard brand and we did it for 4 quarters and it wasn't quite good enough. But if we do that to most sides, especially in the back half of the season, especially with our fixture, we're going to win a lot of games. And we're a couple of puzzle pieces away from being a formidable force in season 2026.
Woo.
Absolutely. Look, I've got nothing but faith in, I've never been more optimistic with the youth at the club than what I am now. Prior to 2021, fellas like Tholstrup, your Disco Turners, your Zave Lindsay's, your Harvey
Harvey
Langford,
Langford.
right? I've never been more optimistic about that. And what I love about that little crew there is from the eye test alone, they just seem like they're not quite used to losing, right? These kids come in, all they've done throughout their entire youth is win. And I think that's a really valuable thing to bring to the club. That almost optimistic naivety of youth.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's something that if we can harness that, the sky's the limit for our boys.
Love the club. Don't go to the Royal.
Don't do it.
Unless you're desperate,
Unless you want
desperate for beers.
Yeah. Can't it, D's?